Hi everybody, so we have a new moon in Libra on a Wednesday, and as we head towards it, I wanted to do a quick video to cover the lay of the land, so to speak, and where we're at. So we have a few things going on right now. First and foremost, we have Mercury that is retrograde in Libra, where we have the new moon. And Mercury went retrograde around September the 27th, and then it goes direct again on October the 17th, or thereabouts, give or take a day or two. So we're very much in that first of 3 weeks of Mercury retrograde. And I don't know about you, but I will be going along my life and my work, and then all of a sudden I'll come up against it. Now, what's nice is that I'm typically coming up against it around what I will call mundane activities. But, mundane or not, it can be really frustrating to find a few hours of your life getting taken up by some technical snafu, something ridiculous and stupid that can then cause a fair amount of frustration and delays and spill over into other things. So some of that energy is definitely very much active. Mercury being retrograde in Libra, it's an important retrograde, and I'm sure you're feeling it because thematically, as we've mentioned, the second half of this year is very much about sweeping away some of the old issues that may go back to 2015, 2016, and may have become highlighted or intensified about 2 weeks ago with the full moon in Pisces. So a certain amount of this idea of getting done with certain aspects of the old that need to, where boundaries need to be placed, or let's just say energy leaks need to be turned off, or need to be minimized, or need to be eliminated even. So that could mean that there are personal decisions that need to be made with regard to where it is that you are going to allow your energy to go or not go, or it could mean that steps or actions need to be taken where energy leaks, frustrations, and we've covered this before, issues related to do with gaslighting, or people playing poker and you playing poker and them playing poker, or not being able to tell whether something is really, how big an issue something is or not, or all that kind of murkiness, and putting some boundaries, or at least eliminating it and taking steps to kind of manage through that process, or whatever all of that is, and the energies that have been present so strongly since the Gemini eclipse in June. About 2 weeks ago came up again, sort of, and as I mentioned to you, the lunations in September had an element of let's build for the future, but the rest of the lunations for this year, with to some extent, the eclipse on November the 19th, but the rest of the lunations until the Gemini full moon in the middle of December have a very strong element of dealing with past issues and finishing them up. And this new moon in 2 days' time is no exception. And when Mercury goes retrograde, very often, outside of the technical snafus and the delays and the travel delays and the lost baggage and misreading things and transactional issues and all that kind of stuff, and ATM issues, and all that kind of transportation issues, and miscommunications, outside of what I would call mundane retrogradeness, for a lot of people who have Mercury direct in their birth charts, this retrograde is often, it's as if the energies of Mercury, the communication, the transactions, the processing, the mind making sense of things and communicating and talking and cognitive abilities, the reversal tends to pull us more into an introverted and reflective space. So the idea is to go back over things and to re-examine, and of course, as a lot of you have heard, that redoing something, examining something, going back to the drawing board, all of that stuff could be occurring. I tend to think of it a little bit as though a magnifying glass comes out and we go over the fine print again. Now, this could be the fine print in our mind and our assumptions and our thoughts about certain things and the stories we've made up, or the facts on certain things too. I mean, Mercury rules facts and data and information. So with it going retrograde, there's a need to kind of move back a few pages and kind of excavate and investigate. Investigate is the right word. And it being in Libra, of course, as you're hearing, I'm sure, on other channels as well, it's relationships and relationship issues and partnership issues and legalities and contracts and commitments and what am I committing to you and what have you committed to me and what have we promised each other and what is our word to each other and where do our contracts lie, verbal or non-verbal, written or unwritten. A lot of that is in this space. Libra is a sign of marriage, partnerships, contracts. The reason why I'm harping on about Mercury retrograde as we headed to this new moon is that we can't assume that we have to factor in the fact that the new moon is in Libra in the same sign where Mercury is retrograde, and the new moon is in conjunct Mars, and I'll go over that in 2 days' time when I do the new moon video. But as Mercury goes retrograde, it squares Pluto 3 times and it trines Jupiter 3 times. So again, you have this tension of examining and going over some place where we might be feeling restricted or trapped, or where we're feeling a sense of power play or obsession with Pluto. I've done videos on Pluto a couple of months ago, so you can scroll through my video list and you'll see 3 videos I think I did on Pluto at that time, because there were various planets that were opposing Pluto. But then we've also got the trine to Jupiter in Aquarius. Jupiter's in Aquarius till the end of this year, and Jupiter's going to be going direct on October the 17th, about the same time when Mercury goes direct. So again, Mercury trining Jupiter, we have to also assume that while it is contending with, thinking about, communicating with, thinking about what to communicate with after it goes direct, the planet Pluto, and places where we feel restricted or bound, or we feel like someone is playing power play to, or someone is trying to restrict us or bind us, or it's kind of getting obsessively over involved in our lives. Mercury is also trining Jupiter, which is trying to create a new beginning wherever Aquarius sits in your chart, and is trying to pave the way for the future there. So again, you have this pull with this retrograde cycle of dealing with older issues that have a quality of entrapment or stalkeriness or obsession to them, and then also paving the way and facilitating building something new wherever the sign of Aquarius is. Very much this theme of finishing up Aquarian activities is going to accelerate now till the end of the year. That brings me to point number 2 of 3 things I wanted to cover in this compass video. And that is that in October, various planets go direct. Pluto goes direct tomorrow, I think. Saturn goes direct on the 10th of October. Jupiter goes direct on the 17th of October. Mercury goes direct around the 17th of October. Most importantly for me here is Jupiter and Saturn. And so it's almost a message to say, till the middle of October, pay attention with Mercury retrograde, but don't worry insofar as thinking that some of the stressful things that you've been dealing with since June, July are somehow set or baked into completion. The idea of planets going retrograde is them covering ground they've already covered because they feel they need to. Now, when these planets go direct, and especially towards the end of the year, till the middle of December at least, but towards the end of the year, let me just put it this way. From the middle of October, as Mercury goes direct, to the middle of December, it is time to finish up this year. Which means it is time to put certain issues to bed truly, and it is time to pave the way for the future in a much more decisive way. By that time, whatever has been baking in the oven for much of this year is looking to be pulled out of the oven, cooled, iced, and brought to the table. Okay, we're not there yet, and the Mercury retrograde is this Mercury retrograde is this final excavation, investigation. I would say it's getting to the heart of the matter. Whatever that means to you, but that phrase I think is very relevant in this. What is, insofar as we are gearing up for a fight for the next couple of months, and in some respects we are with these older issues that have been carrying on, where we energetically are going to put some boundaries in place, or we're going to take certain actions, or we're going to, while we're building for the future, we're really turning off the energy leaks. And it's going to take a certain amount of conflict. It's going to involve us in conflict. And part of that conflict is kind of inescapable in a couple of, with this new moon coming up in Libra. Either it's the pursuit of goals, or it is an uncomfortable battle. And it's the uncomfortable battle that rings truer with the other transits as I looked at the lunations till the middle of December. But these planets going direct means that by the middle of October, but to the middle of December, it really is time to dot the I and cross the T and get done with these items, to really close off the energy leaks and to put to bed as much as you can so that you can move forward, because those new moving forward energies, we've got the first of the new eclipses, on November the 19th, and you're going to feel it. And with Jupiter now going direct on the 17th of October, and by the end of the year, pretty much on the last day of the year, moving into Pisces, not to return to Aquarius again for another 12 years, it's really going to push to bring certain things into completion and conclusion. And it's going to really ask that the Saturn-Uranus square is really dealt with, and important lessons are learned about not leaning into the path of least resistance where Aquarius sits in your chart, and really being clear about laying a strong, clean foundation for how you want to move forward. The third thing is the most relevant thing that I'm going to talk about, and which is that all of a sudden the body, I won't call it a planet, Chiron, is featuring very, very strongly. Because the Sun and Mars just opposed Chiron over the weekend. So did you have an uncomfortable weekend? Because astrologically, certainly, it's very likely or possible that you may have. And with Chiron, we're really talking about, now wherever Aries sits in your chart, what house it occupies and what that stands for, Chiron is there to, it's almost become so trite to say heal something. Chiron is associated with the wound, and it's associated with healing the wound. And in your birth chart, it's very, very clear about what sort of this primal wound is that you're carrying in this lifetime, that especially as you head towards the age of 50, you have a chance to heal. Well, Chiron is transiting Aries, so no matter how old you are when you were born, whatever, as I said, wherever Aries sits in your chart and whatever house it occupies and what that house stands for, there's a certain amount of healing that's going on. But healing means that you identify and you feel and you examine the wound. So it's not, healing has such a pleasant and soothing and Venusian feel to it, but Chiron is really much more interested in a proper surgical, thorough, nourishing solution. And that process is not a comfortable one, because when we're talking about the wounds that Chiron is talking about healing, it's likely that there could be, it could be a source of infection. It could be something that has infected your life, and cleaning an infected wound takes effort and time, and I was going to use the word therapy. It could well be that is a solution. I'm going to let you talk to your doctors about, and I'm not going to give you any sort of medical advice on this channel, but that kind of excavation, depending on the nature of the wound that you're dealing with. So if you know where Chiron sits in your chart, it can be helpful in your birth chart. It can be helpful to kind of get a sense of what could be activated. But more importantly, where's Aries in your birth chart? What house does it occupy? What does that house stand for? The Sun and Mars opposed Chiron over the weekend. Whenever the Sun opposes a body, it kind of exposes, brings to visibility, brings to light all sorts of issues related to it. So it could have been an uncomfortable weekend intuitively, especially, or a sense of, or a feeling, or a touching of the wound in that part of your chart. And it's important because Mercury, as it goes retrograde and it prepares to go direct on October the 17th, it does not oppose Chiron again, technically, but it just gets to the point where it could be doing so as it moves direct. And the new moon that is happening on the 6th is the Sun and Mars are going to be together with the moon. And the Sun and Mars, just opposed Chiron over the weekend, they're going to carry the weight of this exposure of the wound into this new moon. So this is a new moon of fundamentally, fascinatingly, of healing, even though it's conjunct Mars. So the pursuit of goals, the pursuit of something, or the defending of something, all of which are very sort of healing, going into battle to heal, ironically. Has very much, and remember, what is at the heart of the matter with this Mercury retrograde? What is at the heart of the matter? Is it a question of values? Is it a question of something concrete and material? Is it a contract? Is it relationship commitments? Is it what people have promised to each other? What element of a partnership? What element of legalities? What is at the heart of the matter? And it's going to help you so much to meditate on that and think about that while Mercury is retrograde and as you head into this new moon, because if there's a combative energy around it, whether it is turning off energy leaks or protecting boundaries or the pursuit of goals, focusing in on what is at the heart of the matter will give you a sense of what it is that you want to pursue or what it is that you want to fight for and where it is that you want to draw the boundaries or how far you're willing to get something, let something hijack your life to such an extent that the energy that is going to be spent into turning off certain leaks is going to somehow prevent you from what you need to do. Where are you going to draw the line with regard to how much energy you're going to give something? Now, in certain cases, we may not have a choice. If someone is going through a divorce, if someone is thinking of separating from a spouse, if someone is dealing with those kinds of issues, that can, for a period of time, become pretty consuming. And you may not always have the ability. But even there can be a question of how much attention, how do I compartmentalize? I have other things going. How do I manage through those boundaries? Okay, I'm going to leave it at this. 3 things: Mercury retrograde we covered, investigation. We covered the planets going direct during October, and so from the middle of October to the end of the year, sort of a final stretch. So if decisions have not been made so far, no panic. It's actually worked to our advantage. But decisiveness is going to start to play a much bigger role as we head from the middle of October to the middle of December. And then finally, the wound. And what sense of woundedness were we exposed to past issues probably over the weekend? Because combating those may very well be on the menu or the agenda for the next month, month and a half, 2 months or so. Okay, I will leave it at that. Please feel free to like the video, share it if you found it useful with your friends or whoever. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click on the bell icon next to the subscribe button so you know whenever I do new videos. And I look forward to doing the new moon in Libra video, which I will do after the new moon. As you guys know, I always do my new moon videos after the new moon. Okay, take care.